Good evening, everybody. Hi, guys. How are you all doing tonight? So, tonight is now April the 17th. It's about 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to talk about Ripple. I drink so much water because I'm making a bunch of videos throughout the day. So, got to make sure that I stay hydrated and keep my voice pretty clear. So, let's talk about Ripple and what's been going on with it, right? So, Ripple has been one of the coins that actually took one of the biggest hits, as you guys can tell right here already. And we're going to get into a fairly detailed technical analysis with it, with an Elliot wave count from the bottom of right here. I firmly believe that the bottom, guys, it was like around the 45-cent range already. And a few months ago, actually a few weeks ago, I was calling that we were going to hit roughly that range right there. Of course, we ended up uptrending a little bit, but nevertheless, we did hit my 40 or 50-cent range, which was kind of surprising looking back at it in retrospect. So Ripple took a really heavy hit. As we can see from Bitcoin right here, is that Bitcoin didn't actually start its downtrend until December the 17th, right? But Apple actually ended up partnering with Ripple, and that actually ended up surging throughout the months of early December as well. Actually, throughout the entire month of December and a little bit of January as well, it ended up surging. So we have to understand what Ripple aims to do. Okay, that's a very important key thing to do, and why they are actually one of the key components of growing the cryptocurrency community in general. So let's talk a little bit about Ripple and what they are. A lot of people don't know that XRP is just like a subdivision of Ripple, right? But a lot of people use Ripple and XRP interchangeably. But that's something we have to differentiate between the two entities. That XRP is basically a subdivision. It's a component of Ripple, right? So what XRP aims to do is they're part of the fintech industry, right? They're not they're a part of the fintech industry where they're trying to disrupt them. And if we remember, I think it was on what day was it? Let's double check this. I think it was on the 27th or so. Hold on, let's double check this again. October maybe 27 or something like that, like right around this range, October 10, I believe. That is when we had that Swift conference that was held in Toronto alongside the Cybos conference, where they were competing with, or sorry, they had the Swell conference, which actually ended up being not so swell. No pun intended. And they ended up holding it alongside the Cybos conference there, where Swift was actually being held as well. Swift is known as one of the or it was the conference, but Cybos is one of the main organizations right now that does the majority of the money transfers amongst different institutions, right? So what Ripple or XRP aims to do is they plan to have faster and actually cheaper transaction times in general. So they aim to disrupt the fintech industry in general. And it's going to take a little bit of work to actually penetrate this mass market right now. And what made them semi-immune to, of course, the downtrend when Bitcoin was going down was that Ripple partnered with Apple, right? And Apple has a very long history of integrating technologies into the mainstream, and of course, Apple recognizes the faster transaction process, right? Which actually insulated them from Bitcoin's massive downtrend after December 17th there. So we have to accept the fact that Ripple is very innovative and it's fast moving, it's cheap as well, and I firmly believe that one day Ripple or XRP will definitely disrupt the fintech industry, and they could very well be one of the main currency systems in crypto that will be used amongst large institutions as well. Excuse me. So this innovation basically led crypto to call British investors to bring in rules, and Ripple was the one that actually coordinated this. Right? They want to regulate the crypto market, and this potentially could end the wild west of cryptocurrency. So we have to understand that regulation is very much so needed to mature the market, which will eventually draw in new money, and that's the whole purpose of cryptocurrency, right? We want to attract new investors. And I'm just going to lower my camera here a little bit here. So we want to attract new investors, and that's how we grow the cryptocurrency community in general, right? Particularly, we want to have a deterrent, right? A deterrent for anti-laundering, a deterrent for fraud as well. We just want to bring more safety into the cryptocurrency community in general. So think of regulation as basically having guardrails on a highway, in a very fast-moving type of highway, which could allow new players such as yourself and I to enter the market, but particularly institutional investors, especially, right? It brings clarity into a very volatile market. So we have to consider the fact that there's been a lot of scams going on with, ICOs. There's been a lot of laundering as well in cryptocurrency, and because Ripple is actually calling on these British investors to bring in new rules regulating the potential crypto market. I think that institutions and retail investors are actually appreciating these fundamentals, which is finally allowing Ripple to bounce back here as well. So just to add a little, I know that I usually don't talk about fundamentals, guys, but I actually do follow fundamentals. Despite me just saying that I'm a technical trader, which is absolutely true as well. But I spend a lot of my downtime trading, actually just reading up on news for cryptocurrency in general. Because even though you don't necessarily need to factor in fundamentals into trading, if you're a technical analyst and a technical trader, so what a technical analyst does, excuse me, there, sorry about that, is they believe that the overall market sentiment is reflected in the price action and the history of the current coin that you're looking at, which can also represent and allow you to make predictions for the future as well. So it's basically having an all in one, all in a chart. All the information is reflected there. Now, one thing that technical analysis cannot do is it cannot predict, okay? It cannot predict a good piece of fundamental news that has actually come out. So that's also why I follow fundamental news, right? Sometimes I do like to get in on the pump of when these fundamental news bombs are actually dropped in a positive way. But even if I don't catch the positive news, right? Let's say I missed that fundamental news completely, then I still see that something has happened drastically in a particular coin, which actually allows me to short it instead. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm a big bear at heart. So I do believe that Ripple does have the potential to disrupt the fintech industry, and it will have a long ways to go, guys. That Apple partnership was huge. We have to keep in mind that Apple does usually they like to integrate technology into the mainstream, right? And of course, when we get, excuse me, when we get my throat has been really dry lately. I don't know why. Maybe because I drank too much beer for like last New Year's or something. So I apologize for drinking in front of you guys. Okay. Okay. So we gotta accept the fact that Ripple actually ended up surging to $3.30 for an all-time high. And right now, guys, Ripple's at a fire sale. Like, think about this right now, okay? Think about how cheap Ripple is. It's crazy how cheap it is, where it's like literally 66 cents. And if you guys saw my previous video about how I believe that Bitcoin is going to be in a very bullish market this year and us reaching $33,000, so think of Ripple as the people that will have the potential to draw in new investors because they are one of the people that are trying very hard to regulate the market, especially in the financial technology industry as well. If they're trying to gain a lot of mainstream attention, right? And they're actually trying to go mainstream with institutions and retail investors as well, especially banks, despite their issue right now of being known as a cryptocurrency that is actually supposed to be decentralized, but they're more so known as centralized because, well, the majority of these retail investors and these institutions will actually control the node. So if they're the ones controlling the node, well, are they actually, decentralized, right? Is it still controlled by these big banks? So despite these small hiccups, I think that they will eventually overcome them over time, and it's something that you guys just have to give it time, okay? So despite people saying things like, "Oh yeah, Ripple is just a scam, it's just a fraud," you guys have to acknowledge the fact that things do take time, unfortunately. And because they do take time, we have to be extremely, extremely patient with everything going on, okay? So now there's a few ways to look at this right now. And the way that I'm looking at this is simple as like something like that possibly, okay? So we could look at something like perhaps like this that could end up just breaking out like that. So let's take a look at it on a fairly detailed level. Let's take a look first of all on the daily RSI and all these other indicators. What we're setting up for is a potential for one more, one, two, three, four, five, right? So if we look on here, we actually see five potential waves going up already, right? And this right here is simply just making some sort of consolidation pattern. But more importantly, what we should be seeing is like that, okay? One, two, this makes three waves up, four, and there could be one more wave actually going upwards where it's going to attempt to break probably the 72 to the 74 cent range. So we are starting to see it slowly level off right here, right? Slowly leveling off just like that, where we're finally starting to downtick. If we look at the 4-hour chart as well, one of the hard support regions, if this actually does fall down, is most likely going to be around the 62 cent range because that's exactly where the 200 and the 55 moving average actually is. So we just look at a little bit of a lower time frame as well. Are we actually finding support here? Is this starting to curve? Well, if we just draw it like that, right, is this eventually going to make something like that where it's eventually going to curve parabolically going upwards? And then we will find some sort of slight bullish divergence instead of this bearish trend, right? So that's lots of important questions to be asking. Now, the way that I'm seeing this, guys, is simple and like this. I see this as a downtrend currently right now, right? And I see this as it rounding off like that. So the big question is, will something actually happen in this area right here? What we are seeing is this sloped resistance for the RSI on a 3-hour chart, right? Well, that could change very easily soon. So let's take a look at the current conditions of Ripple and try to get a decent Elliott wave count in here, okay? So let's say we went to a 4-hour chart right here. Well, where's the count? It's a very difficult count in my opinion. Is this perhaps subwaves 1, 2? This is now 3. This is now 4, and there's actually a fifth wave somewhere up there, right? Is that a fifth wave somewhere up there? So I don't really have the best count for Elliott waves quite yet right now, but what I am banking on is simple, guys. I'm banking on the fact that this is actually a continuation pattern, okay? I think that this is going to be a bullish continuation pattern, but I want to be very, very clear about some major supports that we have, and we have to understand the mechanics of a triangle and how they actually are. So let's say that we look at an ascending triangle. As you guys all know, this is more of a bullish pattern, right, that ends up breaking upwards. One of the major reasons why these triangles end up breaking upwards is because how many times will it actually pound on the same high, even though and we get higher lows as well until we eventually just break out of it like that. So that's kind of the mechanics of an ascending triangle. Now, of course, a descending triangle is kind of the opposite, right? The way that we see descending triangles is the complete opposite way. How many times can it actually pound on here on the same support until it actually breaks down? But the thing about symmetric triangles is that they're very different ways to look at it. And the most important way to look at it is it's an equal force. Okay, it's an equal amount of supply and demand that's simply being met right here, and it's going to break to one way, right? We don't really know where. And at this particular point right here, where the sloped lines do meet, we call that an apex. An apex has a chance for it to break up, or it has a chance for it to break down. It's just a simple matter of waiting to see where this ends up going. So the way that I'm seeing this right now is I think that Bitcoin is unfortunately going to correct, guys. There's a strong chance that this could break up because this is actually showing more of a continuation pattern if you guys take a look at it, right? If you take a look at it simply like that, yeah, that's definitely a continuation pattern. Because if we take a look at triangles like that, okay, if we're getting some sort of, a wave going up like that, just to give you guys an example, right? We get a wave going up like that, and then we end up getting like threes basically, okay? Where we end up getting, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where these are all 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 structures. And then on the E touch right here, it ends up breaking upwards to continue the pattern like that. So that's one way to look at it as well. So it's very simple to me. Okay, if this is actually a continuation pattern, if I actually drew some sort of box inside of here, and I'm just simply using my base range inside of this box right there as a typical guideline for where it could be, well, it could break somewhere up there, or it could break somewhere to down here. So I personally see the absolute low is like 60 cents that it could fall to, but the high is right around the 72 cents range, right? That's where I was talking about at the beginning of the video. And if we actually take a look at the 72-cent range right here, it's also where we're meeting some fairly heavy resistance and support regions, right? That's kind of a cluster region right there. This is kind of another region as well. So we can easily deduce that if it does end up breaking upwards, right, that's going to be a fairly heavy resistance area right between the 72 and the 74-cent range. But if it does break down, then we can easily assume that if it does break down, we can follow some sort of Fibonacci retracement. So because the Elliott wave count is a little bit difficult to count right now, and also because I'm short on time, that's the truth, right? So if that was 1, 2, and this was 3, that's 4. Well, there's got to be a fifth wave somewhere still in here, right? So there might be a fifth wave if it does actually break out, and this whole thing is actually a structure like that. And then this right here is possibly wave 1. Okay, that's wave 2. All of this makes wave 3. And then we get the major correction to come down. And then we end up going upwards like that, right? And this wave is to be completely determined. So that's one way to look at it. And in my opinion, it might be the best way to look at it. But I also have to offer the alternate scenario, right? Where, that's most likely not a count, for example. So another count that I have to offer you guys is this one? Is that 2? Is this 3, where it just overlaps it by tiny wick? Is that 4 and 5? And then what we have to acknowledge is this wave 1 right here, okay? Is this pretty much is wave 1, right? And that's B somewhere. And then it's going to end up going down to over here to possibly the 60-cent range. Because if this were the case as well, then that could be a simple symmetric triangle that's breaking to the downside. So the best way to play this, in my personal opinion, is to be patient, guys. You have to exercise extreme cautions, right? Where I'm going to offer you guys both scenarios. What we do see is, supply is meeting demand. There's a perfect balance in nature right now, and because there's a perfect balance in nature, I can't help but assume that it could go one or the other way, since the Elliott wave count is fairly difficult, and the indicators as well is not really showing too much signs of it breaking down or up, other than the RSI that I showed you earlier. So the RSI range, one more time, on the 4-hour chart or the 3-hour chart as well, we can see it simply something like that as well, okay? Now, when it gets to this critical moment, if you guys notice, when it gets to this critical moment right there in the RSI, right there, that's also exactly the same spot where we could potentially end up meeting here. So sometime before April the 19th, something major is going to happen with Ripple, okay? XRP is going to break up or it's going to break down. I don't exactly know where, but all that I can do is go based on theory that if it does break up, I'm probably going to end up going long on this, guys. I'm going to go long on it because I believe that, we got a lot of resistance area right here. I don't think I'm going to target more than 72 cents or something. So if this does actually end up breaking upwards, well, that's a pretty good risk to reward, right? Let's say I went to, let's say I went to like 73 cents as a target. You know what? Let's just go 72 to be very conservative, and I'll actually end up setting my stop loss for like even a 1% loss at most. So yeah, I see this as an awesome trade potential right here, where you're getting like a 5 to 6 risk to reward ratio. Now, if it does break down, right, because we ended up counting it entirely wrong, or I did rather, where this is actually going like that, well, I do see as a pretty hard support region around the 60 cents range, right? 3.2, I'm not sure if it'll hold, but we'll simply just say from the 62-cent range to the 58-cent range. So it's a fairly easy analysis to do, in my opinion. You just got to make sure that you're patient and you play it on the breakout, whether it goes up or whether it goes down. So you would want to consider shorting it if it does go down, and if it does go long, you can target easily the the 72 to the 74 cent range. If it does go down, we're talking about the 58 to the 62 cent range roughly. So that's kind of how I look at symmetric triangles. They're one of my more favorite types of patterns to play because it shows a very nice sloped support and resistance area. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm focusing on this technical analysis for you guys as well. Whenever I'm interested in trading a coin, I tend to talk about it through a video as well. So other than that, guys, I just want to give you guys a quick 20-minute update. I would really appreciate an upvote on Steemit if this has helped you in one way or another. If you guys absolutely appreciate the work that I do, you're welcome to donate to the cryptocurrency piggy bank where you can buy me a beer or perhaps a lunch or something like that. And please do visit my Steemit, whether you guys upvote or not. Hopefully you guys do. Just make sure that you go there because there's going to be a lot of charts on there for Ripple in particular, and I'll fill you guys in on the risk to reward ratios and the specific setups that you might want to consider with saying specific too many times, it's like a tongue twister. And I'll actually show you the charts there as well, just to give you guys an idea of where the supports and where the resistances are. So that's how I see Ripple right now for the very short term. There's no doubt in my mind that this year we are going to reach at least the all-time high for these top 10 cryptocurrencies. So other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for all the love and the support always, and have yourselves a fantastic night. Bye now. See you.